The cell membrane is built up of a phospholipid bilayer, which consists of two layers of phospholipids, with a polar hydrophobic interior and a nonpolar hydrophilic exterior. Most molecules cannot pass through the layer, but with polar molecules such as oxygen and carbon dioxide diffuse across the membrane, and the difference in concentration is called a concentration gradient. For other molecules to enter the cell, they need the help of a signal protein. A signal protein binds with a receptor protein, enabling the cell to respond to the signal molecule, which in case opens the ion channel, allowing for specific ions to cross the cell membrane. Sometimes when a signal molecule binds to a receptor protein, it triggers the production of a second messenger. Receptor proteins activate an intermediary protein, which then activates an enzyme, which catalyzes the formation of a second messenger. Second messengers are stronger signals molecules by activating an enzyme, triggering a series of biochemical reactions in the cell. Second messengers change the permeability of a cell by opening ion channels in the cell's membrane, allowing ions to move into the cell. Carrier proteins also help molecules to enter the cell through the cell membrane. Molecules outside the cell bound to the carrier proteins in the cell membrane, and the proteins transport them through the cell membrane. They transport amino acids, sugars, and other ions. Proteins, also called glucoproteins, and have carbohydrates attached to them. These form the identification system that allows your body's cells to recognize each other as self or instead of invader, causing them to known as good or bad cells. Cholesterol modifies the bilayer structure of a biological membrane in many ways. It changes the fluidity, thickness, compressibility, and water penetration of the phospholipid bilayers. The sodium-potassium pump transports 3 sodium ions out of the cell and 2 potassium ions into the cell. Sodium ions are usually more concentrated outside the cell than inside, and potassium ions are typically more concentrated inside the cell than outside the cell. Thus, the sodium-potassium pump actively transports both sodium and potassium ions against their concentration gradient. The energy needed to power the sodium-potassium pump is supplied by ATP. The major purpose of insulin is to regulate your body's energy supply by balancing micronutrient levels during the feed state. It helps your body turn food into energy and controls your body's sugar levels. Insulin increases the cell's glucose transport, which supplies fuel that is needed for energy to metabolize. Without insulin, glucose can't run through your system. When insulin is introduced, it breaks barriers, allowing glucose to enter your system.